So I'm going to ask you questions.
Okay.
This can go on as long as you want, as short as you want. I might ask you a question you're not comfortable with. Just say pass.
Okay.
No rules. Whenever you're done, whenever you're ready to go. Cool?
Okay. Okay.
So this is Marcia. I met Marcia about 10 minutes ago for the first time. She called me and asked me if she could come see the house that she grew up in. And you haven't been here in how long?
Probably 40 years.
40 years. And you had brothers and sisters in here. How many?
2 sisters and a brother, and myself made 4.
You had 4 total. And this was a very small house at the time.
Very
Still
small.
is,
Yeah.
but configured differently.
Right.
And so, what did you feel when you walked in the door here and you hadn't been here in 40 years?
Overwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
to see the beauty of it and see how they fixed it up and remodeled it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of memories.
A lot of memories.
Got it. And you grew up in Georgia the whole time?
The whole time. I
Right.
was born at Crawford Long.
Crawford Long. And tell me a little bit about, you. When we walked into this room, you were talking about television.
Right.
Share with me your experience with television, how your mom felt about it, and then how you feel about it now.
Okay. We never had a television except when John Glenn orbited space. That's when I remember the last thing we watched on it. And when it went off, we never had another one. Never had another TV until I was a sophomore in college, and my professor made fun of me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, everybody raise your hand. He was talking about how things have changed and how everybody has 2 or 3 of us, 2 cars, 3 cars, it was more. And he said, well, let's just use the television for an example. He said, everybody raise your hand that doesn't have a TV. Well, I raised my hand, and he looked at me, and I was a cheerleader at the college, so I wouldn't have lied. He said, you don't have a TV. He said, what do you do? And I said, well, I wash clothes, I iron, I clean. I said, I do my work, do my homework, and the class just laughed.
Right.
Because of that, I went and bought a TV for my mom. So they had a TV until my dad passed
How
away.
much? Do you remember how much it was?
$400 and something.
400. It was a little black and white.
Yeah,
or?
it was a colored one, but it was also in a case, a console.
Mm,
It was one of
piece
those.
of furniture.
Yeah, piece of furniture.
Yeah,
That's what it
not
was.
not quite the things you hang on the wall today.
No.
So your mom is 87,
87.
and she's in a nursing home.
She is.
Is she sick? Is she mentally?
Well, she is mentally great.
Mhm.
They gave her Abilify, the drug Abilify, and it made her where she can't walk.
What's
So,
Abilify is for mood?
It's for depression, depression and mood swings, bipolar.
Oh.
But it's not good for the elderly.
Did you realize, was she bipolar all her life, or did she?
I believe she was.
Really?
They didn't diagnose her as that, but we believe
It's a long
she
time
was.
ago.
Yes.
wasn't talked about. Wasn't yeah.
Right, you're right.
You mentioned earlier that she was a disciplinarian.
Right.
Is how I'm going to put it.
Right.
And then I'm going to let you elaborate on that. What was that like?
My mother was very strong and disciplined. She was very strict. I mean, we didn't go to shows. We didn't go to movies. We didn't. Back then, we didn't wear pants. We were just very strict, religiously strict. I call it religion.
Where did your mom grow up?
She grew up in Atlanta. She was born in 14th Street.
And
my dad was from Athens, Georgia.
Okay, so they were Southern.
They were from
Georgia.
Southern, and they met at Lockheed Air Force, where my daddy worked, and Mama worked at Bell. It used to be called Bell.
What did they do?
Daddy was a supervisor on the C5, and my mama worked as a time clerk. So it used to be Bell Aircraft, and then it moved to Lockheed. So they met at Bell.
So
when they met, that she wasn't as religious. I want to call it religious, and so it was after that, after she married, that she became really. She's just strict. She'd whip us.
So let me ask you this. We're going to get to the religion thing here in a couple minutes. So your mom was diagnosed bipolar. She suffers from depression.
At 86 years old.
86. You feel she was that way when you were a child? Do you feel she was that way all her life?
Right. I felt like she was melancholy personality. Well, she was just real, going to times of depression. She was a happy person. She tried to be happy, and she was really funny, had a great personality. But she would go in times of depression.
And you didn't realize that at the time, I assume.
Right.
You didn't know what that was.
No.
Was it just normal for you?
It was
It's just the
normal.
way it was.
It was the way it was.
Did you find when you left the house, did you ever experience that? Did you learn some of the habits of dealing with life and
Well, I probably did, but it wasn't. It wasn't nothing drastic. It was just, I just.
So you don't feel it was necessarily passed on or something
No,
that
no,
affected
I
you?
believe it could. Yes, I do believe that could. But I, I fight it, and I just sort of try to just do other things instead of staying. When I find myself going through depression, I just try to find something else to get my mind on.
Sure, and I'm sure religion plays a big part in
Right,
that,
it
based
does.
on a little bit that we had
It
spent
does.
together. So when your mom was in her space of sadness, of mania, mood swing, how did you deal with that? How did were your brothers and sisters disciplined the same
Yes,
way?
I have a sister that is diagnosed as bipolar. My other sister.
Oh, it did pass
Yes,
through.
my other sister has been diagnosed with bipolar, and my brother, he doesn't go to the doctors. He doesn't.
But you think he has it
I
as
do.
well?
He's an alcoholic.
So would you say that you're the most together of the four?
I have to say God has made me the most. I really have to say it really had. I mean, you talk about religion. There's a difference in religion and really being spiritual and really knowing Jesus. The religious people, the religion is what causes problems. I really believe that.
Got it. And your siblings, how do you come to grips or process that your siblings were this was passed on to them but not to you? And why would God do that?
Right. I don't. Okay. I don't believe God does it. I believe it's choices.
Choices that they've made.
Right. Choices that we make. I believe by the time we're 16, 17 years old, we have a time to make a choice. We can't blame our parents for the way they raised us. We can't blame them for things that happened to us. We have to realize that this is us.
Sure.
Some things are passed down, but I can look at my mama, and I can truly say I've looked at my mama, and I've learned a lot. I have 3 daughters, 7 grandchildren, and I never beat my children.
You have how many?
Seven grandchildren and 3 daughters.
Oh, wow.
And not one of them. I mean, I've had coaches ask me, Marcia, how did you raise them? They're different. I realized how strict my mama was and how harsh she was on us, and I changed that.
How did you change
I
it?
changed it because I said, you know what? God is love, and He would not, sorry about that.
That's okay. Wow, that's a big iPhone case.
That's a
You are
big
not going to break that
No,
iPhone.
I'm not going to break this, and I'm going to.
Not a problem.
Yeah. I looked at her and I said, I'm not going to be harsh because God is love. That's His main character. And I said, if He's love, then He wants me to be love. And I asked him, my daddy, on the other hand, was a very sweet, kind, loving person. So they had the opposites together.
How did your husband, or your father, actually, or rather, your father, how did he deal with your mom's illness, not knowing that it was an illness?
I know it. Bless his heart. He would tell us she was sick. He would say, something's wrong with your mama. And she was harsh with him, but I used to ask him, Daddy, why do you stay with my mama? Why do you stay with her?
Oh, you saw that it was really
yes, I saw it
not
was
a healthy situation.
yes, I did.
She, in your opinion, mistreated him.
Mentally.
Right.
Yes. And I would say, why? And he'd say, commitment. And at the end of his death, before he died, I said, Daddy, when he told me that, I said, Daddy, I don't want my husband staying with me just because of commitment. If he doesn't love me, I don't want him just staying with me because of a commitment. And he never again used that word.
Interesting.
Commitment. He really loved her. In fact, he left his estate for her to be taken care of. And so she never had anything in her name. She never had a car in her name. He bought her everything. She never worked. My mama never
You didn't
worked.
work. She didn't work at all. Do you work?
No, I did. I was a teller at a bank and worked at a bank, but now I do not work.
Okay. How long has it been since you've worked?
5 years.
Yeah. Why did you stop?
I stopped because my mama's health started declining really, really bad, and my daddy's health was declining, and I have a 98-year-old aunt who didn't have any children.
Your lineage stays alive for a long time.
Yes, she's
That's a good
98,
thing.
and I'm taking care of her. I'm her guardian.
In your house or in her house?
And at the nursing home now. She was in assisted living, but I make sure she's taken care of and make sure she has sitters to feed her.
Sure.
And stuff.
So I'm bouncing all over the place?
But back to my daddy.
Oh, go ahead.
My daddy was a precious, wonderful, loving, nurtured person. And because of him, and when he would say that, I'd say, Daddy, don't stay with her just because of commitment. Well, he told me, he said, before he passed away, he said, I really love your mom. And I always told him the greatest gift a parent can give a child is to let them know that they love their mama, or the daddy loves the mama and the mama loves the daddy. That's the greatest gift a child can give a parent. A parent can give a child.
When you think of your dad, that's what you think
Yes,
of.
that's
How
what I
about
think.
your mom? What did she teach you?
My mama taught me